Hi, I'm Alan Morrison. I'm the organist in residence here at Spivey Hall.
I'm Tommy McCook, the organ's curator.
And I'm Dwight Jones. My company created the computer that controls the organ.
And we're here to have a little show and tell about the king of musical instruments, the pipe organ.
And more particularly, the 79-ranked, 3-manual, 4,413 pipe Albert Schweitzer Memorial Rafati organ here at Spivey Hall. Hit it, Alan. Well, I think that pretty much says it all.
Absolutely. That is, unless you guys have any questions.
Why is the organ so big? Why so many pipes? Who invented the organ? Why do you play it over here but the sounds come out over there? Why are the pipes different sizes and shapes? What are all those funny knobs?
Isn't the organ just for old-timey music?
Okay. Clearly there's more to tell. So let's start at the beginning. Dwight, who did invent the organ?
Well, a Greek engineer named Ctesibius is credited with building the first organ over 2,300 years ago. Hey guys, weren't we going to have pictures to go along with this? Excellent. So here we are back in the old days, and there's Ctesibius. The instrument he built was called the Hydrolyse because it used water pressure to blow air through the pipes. The Hydrolyse was introduced to Rome a couple of hundred years later. Nero couldn't have fiddled while Rome burned. The violin hadn't been invented yet. But he was an organist, or rather a hydrolysist. The instrument spread throughout the Mediterranean and was played at banquets, games, and circuses. Around the year 700 or so, water pressure was replaced by a bellows, and the Hydrolyse was replaced by the organ. It began making its way into churches around the year 900, and by the 1400s, organs were in churches and cathedrals all over Europe.
Until this time, organs could only make one sound, no matter how many pipes they had, because all of the pipes for a particular note played at the same time. Clearly, someone had to put a stop to this. Mechanisms were designed so that sets of pipes with different sounds could be stopped off. So with just one stop open, just one set of pipes would sound. Open another one, and you get a different kind of sound. And if you really wanted to make a racket, you'd pull out all the stops. So by the early 1500s, organs had just about all the sounds you'd find in a modern-day organ. At that point, organs were the most precise and complicated machines ever built by human beings.
By the 1700s, organs began to be built in America. One of the first was completed in 1759 in the Old North Church in Boston, where Paul Revere was the sexton.
By this time, a good deal of music had been written for the organ, most famously by our friend Johann Sebastian Bach. But other composers wrote for the organ too. In fact, both Mozart and Beethoven were court organists. Mozart loved the instrument so much that he called it the King of Instruments. Other famous composers were also organists: Handel, Mendelssohn, Liszt, Franck, Dvorak, Bruckner, Fauré, Ives, and Messiaen.
During the 1800s, steam-powered organs, or calliopes, appeared. These instruments could travel, which is why we associate the sound of the calliope with carnivals and circuses. In the early 20th century, pipe organs with special sound effects like drums, cymbals, and even car horns were installed in movie theaters to accompany films during the silent era. When talking pictures appeared in the 1930s, most movie theaters got rid of their organs, but some of the grand old movie palaces, like Radio City Music Hall in New York and the Fox Theater in Atlanta, still have theater organs that are in use today. And the organ still appears in the movies. Film scores like 2001 and Interstellar use the organ to create an epic sound for audiences.
The 20th century also brought electric organs, electronic organs, and organ synthesizers, which became very popular among pop and rock musicians. Bands like The Doors, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and Yes made extensive use of the organ in their music. Electric organs are also used at baseball, basketball, and hockey games. The Atlanta Braves organist Matthew Kaminsky recently appeared at Spivey Hall's World Music Festival.
Electric organs are fun, but there's no substitute for the epic sound of a real pipe organ. And the beginning of the 21st century has seen a resurgence in installations in places like the Disney Concert Hall in Los Angeles, symphony halls in Philadelphia, Dallas, Seattle, and right here at Spivey Hall.
Dwight, the Spivey Hall organ was installed in 1992, so technically it's a 20th century instrument.
Good point. Tommy likes to keep me honest. It's one of his best qualities, really. And as I was about to say, nowadays you can find pipe organs in churches, synagogues, concert halls, auditoriums, and even parks. They're used for all kinds of music: classical, sacred, secular, and pop, rock, jazz. Well, you get the idea.
So there you have it. The story of the organ, the king of instruments. Thanks for watching.
Wait a minute. How does it work? And what about all the keyboards and buttons? Aren't you actually going to play some music?
Right. Yes, we'll get to all of that in the next installment. Dwight,
That's me.
and Tommy
Right here.
are going to dig into the guts of the organ to show you how it really works. So, we'll see you then.
Welcome back. Last time we talked about the history of the king of instruments, the pipe organ.
And as I recall, you had some questions.
How does the organ work? Why 3 keyboards? Why does it need more than 4,000 pipes?
Exactly. So let's get started. A pipe organ is really just a big box of whistles or pipes. There are little tiny pipes and great big pipes. And they're made of different materials like lead, copper, wood, even bamboo. Some are round and some are square, but they all come in two basic types, flue pipes and Reid pipes. A flue pipe is designed like a whistle or recorder, a long tube with a narrow opening at one end and a hole with a special shape that causes the air going through the pipe to vibrate. The longer the pipe, the longer the wavelength, and the lower the sound. And it's all based on math. With pipes of the same diameter, if you have an 8-foot pipe tuned to C, a 4-foot pipe will also be a C, but an octave higher. And a 2-foot pipe will be an octave higher than that. Big organs like the one here at Spivey Hall will have 32-foot and even 64-foot pipes that make sounds so low that they can shake the hall. All the notes between the octaves are in between lengths with a precise mathematical ratio that determines the pitch or note of each pipe. Reed pipes work like a woodwind instrument, a clarinet or a saxophone. The sound of these pipes is determined by the vibration of a metal tongue or reed, and the length of the pipe determines the pitch. They make a very different kind of sound, like this. Whether it's a flue pipe or a reed pipe, each pipe can play exactly one note with exactly one kind of sound. So in order to get all the notes on the keyboard, we have to have 61 pipes, which is called a rank. And with 79 ranks, that makes well over 4,000 pipes in all. Now that we know how organ pipes work, we have to figure out how to get just the right amount of air to just the right pipes, and that can get pretty complicated. Each pipe sits on top of a hollow wind chest that is filled with compressed air. At Spivey Hall, the air is provided by electric fans in an enclosure over by the loading dock, so you won't hear the compressor, just the music. Each stop at the console represents a rank with a particular sound, with a different pipe for every note on the keyboard. When you pull that stop, it activates an electrically controlled valve under that particular set of pipes, so they can make a sound when you press a key. Pressing that key opens a valve that allows air to go to one particular pipe in the rank, and a note sounds. And with over 4,000 pipes, that's a lot of valves.
And controlling them all from the console is a pretty complicated business. In the old days, each key and stop was mechanically connected to the valves and sliders, which made for a very complicated machine. These organs are called tracker organs, and they're still made today. The problem with trackers is that there are thousands of parts that can break, and they can only be a certain size. About 75 years ago, organ builders started using an electrical connection between the console and the organ itself. You press a key, and an electric valve opens to let air through. It's much simpler, you can build much larger organs, and the console doesn't have to be directly connected to the pipes. When the Spivey Hall organ was installed in 1992, it was an electrically controlled instrument. But like most organs, it's been updated and upgraded over the years, and now the organ is controlled by a computer. This computer, actually. If you pull a stop or press a key, the signal goes in here. It's processed by the computer in millionths of a second and sent to the appropriate pipe or rank on the organ. The console is connected by fiber optics, so the organ is controlled by tiny pulses of light. Not only is it simpler and faster, it allows you to do amazing things, like precisely record a performance that can be played back later, right on the pipe organ. So an organist like Alan can sit out in the hall and listen to his own performance exactly as it sounded to the audience.
All I can hear are my mistakes.
So now you know how pipe organs work.
We know you still have some questions.
What does it sound like when you mix the stops?
And you still haven't explained why there are 3 keyboards.
And now about playing some music.
Fortunately, this is a 3-part show, And in the last part, we'll be showing you all of those things. See you then. Now that you know where organs came from and how they work, let's look at how you can make music with them. A pipe organ really is a one-man band. Imagine being able to play all the instruments of an orchestra, all by yourself and all at the same time. On the organ, this can be done with your fingers and feet. I've played a lot of organs in churches and concert halls, and every one is a little different. Organs aren't like flutes, trombones, or violins that are basically all designed the same. Each pipe organ is custom made based on the types of sounds you want it to make, the size of the room, and of course the budget. For instance, the Albert Schweitzer Memorial Organ, this one right here, was built to fit perfectly in Spivey Hall, which is one of the greatest acoustical spaces around. This organ was the dream of Emily Spivey, who was a great patron of the arts, organist, and the main contributor to building both Spivey Hall and the organ. It's big enough to provide plenty of different sounds and fill the room with sound, but not too big. Organs in cathedrals and symphony orchestra halls are bigger, but they'd just be too much for Spivey Hall. An organ console can have as many as 7 keyboards, but ours has 3 manuals for the hands, and of course, the pedal board for the feet. You can set different stops for each, so not only can you mix the sounds in one manual, but you can play different parts on different keyboards with different sounds, like this. One of the great things about this particular organ is its versatility, all the different sounds it can make, and make beautifully. A lot of organs excel at a particular style of music, the modest, straightforward sound of the Baroque, the wild, flamboyant colors needed to play 19th century Romantic music. the complete variety of sounds from the 20th and 21st centuries. But, as you can see, this organ can handle them all. I have known and loved the organ here at Spivey Hall since it was born back in 1992. I played during the inaugural season and have returned many times, and I've recorded 3 CDs on it. I especially love the big trumpet-shaped pipes that stick out from the case horizontally. This rank is called trumpet en chamade. Chamade is a French word for a loud trumpet call in battle, to let the troops know some action was about to take place. Think, charge! We talked a little earlier about famous composers who were also organists. Since the organ is such a complex instrument, it's not surprising that most music composed for organ was written by organists. I'm going to play a short section of Pageant, a piece that really takes advantage of the power and versatility of the organ, written in 1931 by Leo Sowerby. So, now you know a little more about the pipe organ, the king of instruments.
But watching it on a video is like looking at a rocket launch on television. You can see it and hear it, but you can't feel it.
Tommy's right. You really have to be there. There's nothing like feeling the power of the pipe organ in person.
Come to Spivey Hall and see us. Take a tour, watch a concert, and feel the thunder. See you soon.